Hey, what's happening, everybody? It's me, Crazyfrankie, and I'd like to welcome you to my Week 7 4 key game picks. Before we talk about Week number 7, I just want to make a quick little point about this. I'm still exactly not 100% as I was last week. I don't know if anybody noticed that when I did my video for last week's picks, my voice wasn't exact. I was starting to, clear my throat so much. And unfortunately, I did get sick over the weekend, so bear with me. My voice is going to sound a bit horsey and all that other all this other nonsense that I basically will have to deal with as I make this video. So bear with me. This is not going to be a pretty video. Anyways, talking about what happened in week number 6. We have no more undefeated teams anymore. The 49ers went down to the Browns, and the Eagles got upset by the Jets. And when I look at it this way, I got to make a couple pointers here for both these two teams, for the 49ers and the Eagles. I personally think maybe it's better for them to lose here and there rather than flirting with, I'd rather with flirting with any sort of talk about an undefeated season and all that. Just ask the 2007 New England Patriots. I personally think maybe it's good for them to lose a game here and there because I think, to me, it could get them focused on what lies ahead for the rest of their team's prospective schedules. So I wouldn't be too, if you're a 49ers fan or an Eagles fan, I wouldn't be too pissed about it because I think it's better for them to lose a game here and there. Because, let's be real, 49ers, I think, to me, are still the possibly the best team in the NFC conference, let alone probably the best team in the NFL. Along with the fact that the Eagles, they stumbled a little bit this year, but they still are up there as maybe one of the better teams in the NFC. And how about the Detroit Lions? 5-1. Completely dominated the Buccaneers. What Dan Campbell has done with the Detroit Lions has been really impressive. He's got the offense going. Jared Goff's really looking like a quarterback that led the Rams to the Super Bowl about 4 years ago. You got to give him a lot of credit. This guy really's got the Detroit Lions in an area, in a place where this franchise hasn't gone in almost a decade. I mean, their last playoff appearance was really I think it was 2015. That was the last time the Lions were in the postseason. So, or 2014, I should say. So give credit where credit is due, what Dan Campbell's done with that team. And obviously, I don't want to get into the mess that was the Cowboys-Chargers game, because obviously, it almost, like, if anybody saw that game, it looked like nobody wanted to win that football game. Even though the Cowboys won, and obviously Brendan Staley's coaching catastrophe and most of the decisions he made in that game against the Cowboys were kind of sad and pathetic, to be honest. And it pains me as a Chargers fan seeing this team like this. They got talent, and yet they still find ways to lose, and it's getting frustrating and disgusting. And even other than that, and when you talk about the AFC West, I mean, the Chiefs, even though they were expected to beat Denver, they weren't that impressive last week. It was a low-scoring game. And maybe there's some light at the end of the tunnel for the Chargers to maybe have any sort of chance, but I don't know. Because the Chargers and Chiefs do play each other in this week, and that is one of the key games I will get into once I talk about all the key games. I'm going to get into my picks right now because of my voice. I don't want to lose any more of my voice than what I did. So let's just talk about week number 7. So bear with me here if my voice is horsey here. Let's begin with key game number 1, and it is the Jaguars versus the Saints. The Saints are actually sort of a slight favorite at -1, but to me, the Jaguars, should be more favored in this game, given the fact that the Jaguars finally turned things in the corner. They're already ahead in the AFC South as expected, because the way given that Trevor Lawrence and Ridley should be, their tandem should be more intact, and given the fact that Doug Peterson has done a great job coaching this team. Lawrence was 20 of 30, 181 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. Now, Carr in the loss to the Texans was 32 of 50, 353 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception. There are some things that are definitely going wrong with the New Orleans Saints. And this is a game that the Saints desperately have to have on Thursday to try to keep pace with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They did stumble with the Detroit Lions, but look, the NFC South is a very winnable division. And the Saints are still trying to find way, or the Saints are trying to establish himself out of the shadows of Drew Brees and Sean Payton. It's going to be really hard to not go against the Jacksonville Jaguars because I think the talent on that football team is a lot more better than the Saints really have. The Saints have really struggled a lot, even with Derek Carr as quarterback. Saints offense really is not dominant. Their defense is average. And the way that the Jacksonville Jaguars offense has come alive, I'm going to pick the Jaguars. I think at the Jaguars +1. It wouldn't surprise me if this game goes to you pick 'em status because it's really going to be I think it's going to be a close game. But I just think the Jaguars are a much better team. Obviously they'll have another one game edge in the AFC South. But the reason why I count this as a key game because the Saints are trying to keep pace with the Buccaneers in the NFC South. So no question, but there's no doubts on my pick here. I think the Jaguars will beat the Saints here. It should be a close game, but I'm going to pick the Jaguars +1 over the Saints. Key game number 2. This one I really don't want to get into because it involves the Chargers. Chargers versus the Chiefs. The Chiefs are a 5.5-point favorite, and I would think that is about right, given how terrible this defense is being run. And this is Staley's defense we're talking about here. I don't know what it is, given the amount of talent that the Chargers have, and yet they find ways to lose. Herbert, 22 of 37, 227 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Patrick Mahomes, despite a low-scoring game, was 30 of 40, 306 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception. Over the past few seasons, these two teams have fought to the death in their game. The last 6 meetings between these two teams have been really one-score games, and they have been fantastic football games between these two. And this is really, given the fact that the AFC West, the Chiefs are still running away with the division so far. The Chargers are 2-3 and are way behind. And given the fact the Raiders have moved into second place now, that they're improving. It pains me. I don't think this game's going to be close. Given the fact that the Chargers defense has seriously screwed up. They are not stopping they've been able to stop the run a little bit more against the Cowboys. But I think with the Chiefs, given with Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce and the way that offense runs, that Charger, I don't think this game's going to be close. In a game that the Chargers desperately have to have and to get back to 500 to try to keep pace in the West, I just don't see it happening. The Chiefs are clearly much better than the Chargers, and I'm picking the Chiefs. I hate to say it. It's going to be another win for the Kansas City Chiefs against this arch rival. 5.5 is just about right. I don't see that line changing at all going into Sunday's game. I'm picking the Chiefs at -5.5. Chiefs over the Chargers. Key game number 3, the Detroit Lions versus the Baltimore Ravens. Should be a good one here. Jared Goff, 30 of 44, 353 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a big victory over the Buccaneers last week. Lamar Jackson, and surprisingly in a decent victory against the Titans last week in London, 21 of 30, 223 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception. The Ravens are a 3-point favorite, and that number is definitely going to get much lower. Probably 2.5, maybe 2. Who knows, maybe even 1.5. That line is for sure going to change. Given for a couple of factors, Detroit's defense has been magnificent in the last 4 games. Even though they stumbled against the Seahawks in week 2, the way that team has really assembled here, it should be a good one. And the reason why I say this, Baltimore's offense is really starting to get into the attack here. But I think, to me, the reason why I'm inching and sliding towards the Lions, I don't think that Lamar Jackson and his offense has seen a defense quite like the Lions so far this season. They've been fortunate enough. I know they stumbled against the Colts. And given the fact that the Ravens have been playing pretty well, I think they're going to hit a brick wall against the Lions here. I think this game is definitely going to be close. I think for sure it's going to be low scoring. I don't think it'll be a high scoring affair in this one here, given the fact that the Detroit defense can hold. I think they're going to be able to hold Baltimore's offense at bay. I think Lamar Jackson's going to really have a hard time against this Lions defense. And when I look at it here, the Ravens are favored by 3, But I'm going to go with the Lions because of the defense. Jared Goff is playing well with the offense. I think to me, I know they're not going to have Montgomery. He got hurt last week. But I think to me, the Lions will keep this game close, and I think they're going to find a way to beat the Ravens here. The Ravens, I think, are going to stumble against that defense. That's why I'm picking the Detroit Lions +3. Lions over the Ravens. And finally, key game number 4. This is definitely going to be possibly a high-scoring affair here. The Dolphins versus the Eagles. Eagles are a 2-point favorite in this one here, and it wouldn't surprise me if this goes down to 1.5. Jalen Hurts was 28 of 45, 280 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions, and a terrible loss against the Jets. Tua was 21 of 31, 262 yards, 3 touchdowns, and no interceptions. I think this I think this will come into an area where I think the Eagles will find a way to improve, because I know they stumbled against the Jets. That shouldn't have happened. But I just think that the Eagles will probably be a little bit more better prepared for this one here, because they know that the Dolphins are not a joke. The Dolphins have really outscored the opponents by an average of 30 points. But you got to question a bit of their defense. It's really a 50-50 pick here. This is not a sure pick, because obviously Tua and Tyreek Hill, their tandem has been magnificent. Jalen Hurts really had to scramble a lot more, and obviously he's having a little trouble with finding open wide receivers. I know the Eagles' offense has stumbled a bit, but they know that this is a game that they have to have, given the fact that the Cowboys are still trying to keep pace, because that meeting with the Cowboys is coming up very soon. It's a 50-50 pick here. I'm not sure who wins this game here, because a lot of it's going to come down to the defense. Who makes the play? Who stops? Which defense will put the stop to whatever offense the Dolphins or the Eagles have? And it definitely comes down to who makes the big plays in this one here. It's going to be close. High-scoring affair could be possible, but it wouldn't surprise me if it comes down to a field goal. I'm actually going to pick the Philadelphia Eagles. I think they bounce back here. I think they know that the Dolphins are a tough team, and I know they'll find a way to get ready for the Dolphins here. It's a 50-50 pick here. It's hard to tell who wins this game here. I'm going to pick the Eagles here. I'm not certain on this pick here, because this is going to be very hard, because both these teams are about evenly. Both teams are almost on par with each other, but Miami does have the better offense than the Eagles do. But the Eagles' defense, I would say maybe slightly a little bit better than the Miami defense. Tough pick here. I don't know who wins this one here, but I'm going to go with the Eagles here. I'm going to gamble on this one here. I'm going to pick the Eagles -2 on this one here. Eagles over the Dolphins. All right, everybody, I got to wrap it up here because my voice is not, like I said, I'm struggling here to talk here. Check the description below for all my picks for Week 7. I'll talk to you guys next week. Take care.